G'day folks. Well, the crank's back in. Oh, goodness me. Goodness me. All right, let's talk about it all. Oh, there's a good little story about to unfold. Well, I took the crank back into the machine shop and I said that we haven't got enough clearance. His name's David. He's a hell of a dude, he really is. He's old school and he sat me down and gave me a lesson in checking clearances. I took my micrometer in and he sat down with me there and he said, this is how we measure cranks and this is how we work it all out. Well, I've been getting it wrong, guys, for a long time. I just want to clear this up because I feel like a bit of an idiot, really. But no one's ever told me. No one's ever told me. I've been checking, when I check for clearances, I think that, say just for example, 2 thou, I thought you had to have 2 thousandths of clearance right around, or top and bottom. And that blew out to 4 thousandths. Well, it doesn't work like that. If it's 2 thousandths, it's 2 thousandths. You basically got a thou top and bottom. And I've been reading it wrong, guys. So that was probably why I was actually getting a tighter clearance on it all than what was actually in reality. Now, he did get the bearings wrong though, I must admit. He got the 00 plus, which should have been the 001 plus. He should have got the 001 minus, which gave me that little extra thousandths of clearance. Well, he sort of, I wouldn't have said he apologised, but he did acknowledge that they were wrong. So he sat me down, we worked it all out. The crank is incredibly close to factory. It's not funny. And we checked all the clearances and then I went home and I've double checked on them and done it my way as well. And I'm sort of that close, it's not funny. So I'll show you anyway. I've done a blueprint on it all, guys. So he's taught me how to do all this. We've learnt it all. I know how to convert it all to imperial. And this is it. This is it. For example, number 1 piston, number 1, he did a measurement and he recorded 2.4 thousandths. I've come in at 2.3. So whether there's human error there on my part or his part, it's probably me. It did take me a while, guys, to really get a measurement on these ones. Look, it took me a couple of hours of really just sitting down and getting a feel for the telescopic snap gauge. It's not a perfect tool, but you can get it if you've got patience, and he was showing me how to sort of to read it. And yeah, I got it all in the finish, guys. For example, if you convert, this is the crank journal, so if you convert 53.970 and you do the math on that, for example, from millimetres to imperial, if you times it 0.039, you'll come up with 2.124, and that's what the factory specs are for the crank. So it's, well, there's 0.5 undersized there, so it's on the money. It's a really good little crank. It's funny too, guys, number 1 and 2, they pair up. So number 1 and 2, we got 6.5, 3 and 4, we got 70. Number 5 and 6, 6.5 and 7.8. So it doesn't vary across the actual journal, like that journal between the two rods. So it's pretty good. I was actually very happy with that at the end of the day. Now this is interesting. This is with a standard bearing, guys. After miking these all up and checking them over, number 7 and 8, we're on the tight side. And what that does, it gives you a tight reading when you go on your clearance. So my new target now, guys, for clearance is a minimum of 2.3. I'm happy to run with that. So we've got three there at 2.3. But say number 3 is 1.9. I'm going to put a minus 001 or 001 minus, put one shell in it on the cap side, and that'll pick me up half a thousandth. So that'll get me up to 2.4. I'll do that for number 4. I'll leave number 5 alone. Number 6, I'll pop a half a thou shell in it, 001 minus, just the one, and that'll give me 500, or sorry, not 500, half a thousandths. So that'll get me up to 2.6. I'll do the same for number 7, and that'll get me up to, no, hang on a minute. That'll only get me up to 2. So I've actually got to put a full bearing in there, 001 minus. So that'll get me up to 2.5. And I'll do the same, hang on. No, I'll do the same for number 8. So that'll get me up to 2.7. So that'll be probably the loosest bearing out of the lot as far as clearances go. So we're going to have to do a little bit of mix matching to get the right desired clearance that I want. Now once I do that, guys, I've done number 1. Now what I'm doing is I put when I slide the piston up, I don't put any oil on this bottom side of the rod, and I make sure it's touching. So there's metal to metal contact on this side. Then we don't put any oil on this side. A little bit of Plastigage in there. We set the cap on it gently, and we make sure that the piston stays nice and tight against the crank, doesn't move, and then I torque these caps up, pull them off, and then I check the clearances. Because we've got it touching on the other side, and this gives us our total clearance, and that's the correct way to do it. I was told that by the machine, by David. When you've got oil in underneath it, it gives you a bit of a false reading. He said anywhere up to a thousandths can stay there in oil film, and it's not a real accurate way of measuring your clearances. The Plastigage or the Flexigage is just to give you a confirmation on what I've or what I've done, put the time in to check all my clearances, just to make sure I haven't done any major boo-boos. And you know what, guys? That was bang on the money. It was a whisker over 2 thousandths. So far, so good. Very happy with it, guys. Oh, goodness me. It really, really tested my learning skill this week doing this, but it's given me so much more confidence now to double check things, have my own reference to check against, because at least I know now I can date it and write it all down. So when I go to pull the thing apart, or for whatever reason, I've got documentation down on my rod clearances, which is really nice. And I think when you're going to the next level, preparing in my case, a mild race engine, nothing too crazy, it's just nice to have, or nice to know your clearances. Whew, that was a mouthful. All right, guys, well, I've been busy. I've grouted one side of the block. I made a boo-boo on this one too, guys. I've been learning this week. It's been unreal. My first attempt, I made it too thin. And I ended up this was before the crank went back in and everything. And I wasn't happy with it. So I took it back outside and I washed it all out about 20 minutes after I did it. I wasn't happy with it. So I washed it all out, cleaned it all up, the whole block again, brought it all back in, and I've mixed a drier brew up this time. And yeah, this one was probably a fraction dry because I couldn't quite get it perfectly level. There's about a mil. When I put a bit of wire down in it to check everything, there's about a mil variance in height. And what I did do, I had a bit of TIG wire and I got in between the cylinders, and it was just sort of poking it around to try and level it out. But that's a really a really dry brew. So the idea is you mix it as dry as you can, but it still has to run and sort of self-level. You don't want it too dry where you can't get it levelled out. So that was on the dry side, but I'm happy that it's like that. It's better than having it too wet, because it'll shrink and it'll crack and fall out. You don't want that. So when I'm got all the pistons in place and I'm happy with everything there, I'll do the other side, guys, and I will do a little video on it. I'll set it up, I'll have it all ready, and I'll show you the consistency of it, and you'll see me pour it all in, and we'll just have a little play around with it, and we'll go from there, guys, because I do want to show that process. It's not messy, it's actually quite easy to do. Just take your time, and it takes around 750 mils of cement to do it, like in liquid form. So yeah, it doesn't take a hell of a lot. I think if you were going to come up here, you would be, well, that'd be near doubling it. So you'd be near 1.5 litres, I'll be guessing, to get it up to the top of the Welsh plug. But I'm happy just to run it at the bottom here, guys. We've still got, well, it's about 1/4 of the way up, a whisker over. So we're keeping it well down, but we're giving the bottom of this part of the block just a bit of rigidity, and it'll be great for harmonics too. So, because anything with a bit of mass will soak up vibrations, so that's a great thing. All right, folks, well, we're well on the way to getting the little 355 back on track, and it's been an incredible learning for me. I've really stepped up to this little challenge, and it's really, I have to do it. If I'm going to be doing this sort of work, guys, the Plastigage on its own is okay as a tool, but it's not the sole tool for checking everything. And at the end of the day, if you're rebuilding them or assembling them yourself, you've got to take ownership, guys, because if I'd have put that engine together with the 0 plus bearings, it would have ended up in disaster, and I can guarantee you they wouldn't have wanted to know about it. So it all comes back on me. So I'm quite happy to take responsibility now that I've got that little bit of extra knowledge and confidence. I can move forward, and it's a great thing. All right, guys. Well, I hope you're enjoying this little these little videos I'm putting up about the little 355 comeback, because it's bloody interesting and it really excites me. I'm going to put some more up now. In the next day or two, they'll be bunched up a little bit more, because we can move on with it, and it's good. It's real good. All right, folks. Well, I'll pop one up soon. Catch you later.